Israel is gearing up to enter the next phase of the war with Hamas, the full takeover of Gaza City. But as that's happening, over 1 million Israelis took to the streets yesterday to protest how the Israeli government has been handling the war, and their grievances are much different than you might think. Let's get into it. The IDF's chief of staff just announced on Sunday that the military had approved plans to enter the next stage of the war with Hamas, that is, completely taking over the Gaza City. He said, quote, "They will continue striking until Hamas is defeated with the hostages constantly in our sight." He also said the current campaign was another layer in a long-term planned strategy with a multi-arena perspective aiming to strike all elements of the axis, first and foremost Iran. According to Israel's army radio, the plan is to besiege Gaza City with the aim of gaining control of it by October 7th of this year. The IDF has already started operating in the south part of the city. This is a massive undertaking and will require having to find a place to move the hundreds of thousands of people currently in Gaza City. It will reportedly require 4 divisions and tens of thousands of reservists as well. Even as Israel's chief of staff, Eyal Zamir, mentioned that getting out the hostages is, of course, one of the main goals in taking over Gaza City, according to a Saudi newspaper, Hamas and the other terror groups in Gaza are considering moving the hostages out of Gaza City before the IDF enters. The report said that this would be to pressure Israel into not taking over the city. The war has now stretched on for nearly 22 months, with Hamas showing no signs of surrender. Gaza City remains Hamas's stronghold, its military headquarters, and if you will, the symbolic center of its control. For Israel, taking the city would be a decisive step toward breaking Hamas's grip on Gaza and also restoring security for Israel. Even so, there are many here in Israel who apparently do not see it that way. On Sunday, over 1 million Israelis protested across the country. We're going to get into that in just one second. But first, Magen David Adom is Israel's emergency services system, which means that they're the first ones on the scene at every terror attack, rocket attack, car accident, heart attack, whether it's terror-related or not. They dispatch every ambulance in the nation. They receive thousands of emergency phone calls every single day. They are the ones who are on the front lines of this 7-front war that Israel is still facing. Since October 7th, they've saved thousands of lives. They continue to do that every single day, but they need our help. With Israel's resources strained to the breaking point with the ongoing war, Magen David Adom needs more emergency vehicles, bandages, medical supplies, so much more to respond to every terror attack and every other daily emergency that's happening here in Israel. People ask us all the time what they can do to bless Israel during this war. Well, this is one of the best ways that you can do that. You can be a part of making sure that Magen David Adom is equipped with everything that they need to save more lives here in Israel. Just go to savelivesinisrael.com to make a real difference today, or you can just click that link in the description below. So the Israeli Hostage Families Forum called for a nationwide protest yesterday, starting at 6:29 in the morning and going late into the evening. This is something that has been going on since day one of the war. Was started as a public campaign to bring publicity to the plight of the hostages, has turned into a call to end the war as a means to get the hostages back. Israeli mainstream media estimated that over 1 million people took part in the protest throughout the day yesterday, and 500,000 people were estimated to be at the rally that was at the end of the day. At this rally, several family members of hostages still held in Gaza spoke, and they showed the propaganda videos that Hamas released of the starving hostages in the tunnels in Gaza. The protest called for the Israeli government to end the war in Gaza and secure the release of the hostages. Now, before I talk about why these protests are not helping Israel win this war, I want to make it clear I'm not in any way judging the families of the hostages who are leading some of these protests. I can't even start to imagine what these families are going through, what they have been going through for the last 2 years. while their loved ones are being held in the Gaza Strip in the most cruel conditions. I don't think we should judge the actions of these people who are going through this incredibly tough time and are grieving.
It's Mama. It's day 328. We are
the unfortunate thing, though, is that these grieving families are being manipulated by Hamas, who want to end the war, and the far-left activists in Israel who are trying to bring down Netanyahu's government. Why do you think Hamas released these videos of the hostages that are starving in Gaza? Because they want the Israeli public to pressure the Israeli government into a hostage deal that would be good for Hamas. And you could even take it further. Why did Hamas even take hostages in the first place on October 7th instead of just killing them all? Because they knew that taking hostages has always worked in Gaza to get them out of a bind and release thousands of Palestinian terrorists from Israeli prisons. As the talk of hostage ceasefire deals starts and stops between Israel and Hamas, a very clear pattern, I believe, is emerging. Whenever there is a public pressure campaign against Israel to strike a deal from within the country or from without, Hamas makes outrageous demands and digs in its heels. As the list of countries who are saying that they will declare a Palestinian state at the UN in September increases, you can see Hamas reject deal proposal after deal proposal submitted by Israel. While it's easy to say, end the war, bring back the hostages, if Israel were to do that tomorrow without fully eradicating Hamas in Gaza, then thousands of Israeli families would be at risk of one day becoming hostage families themselves. It is worth noting that not all the hostage families are marching with these protests. Some of the families oppose the protests against the government and instead favor military pressure to bring their loved ones home. Ditza Or, mother of hostage Avi Natan Or, sees right through these strikes and the protests, saying the goal of the strike is to stop the war, not to return the hostages, and that the plight of the hostages is used only to manipulate Israelis and to take into the streets to demand an end to the war. All of this is showing me that we need to continue to pray for Israel. I don't know how many of the hostages are still alive. I can't possibly imagine what they and their families are going through, but let's continue to pray for them. For, yes, the release of the hostages, but also for the complete annihilation of Hamas and for Israel to be strong in their decision-making, to have wisdom, and so that they can eventually live in 100% peace and security in the entirety of their land. That's it for today, guys. Don't forget to check out Magen David Adom to make a real difference in Israel today. You can just go to savelivesinisrael.com or click that link in the description below. As always, thanks for watching. Catch you in the next one.